Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 7 instructional video. Week 7. All right, let's get to it. If we go to D2L and go to the content area, I want to touch base about a few things. The first is to take a quick look at our schedule for the course. And so recognize that you have a downloadable version here as well as a visual. I'm just going to pull up the visual one, which is just an HTML, and I'm going to scroll down. I want to make you aware that we get to a point where the margins on the chart start to become affected, and it's really annoying, and I'm going to work on updating that because I have a hard time looking at it. So if you scroll down, you start to see all over the place. Anyhow, we're moving into reading Robert Louis Stevenson, but I think it's helpful to kind of see the sequence of where we have been and where we're going, right? So we have moved through different time periods, but we're in the Victorian age, which we started with Tennyson, right? And then we added Arthur Conan Doyle to our reading, even though he wasn't included in our course text, which is unfortunate. And so around the same time period, we're looking at Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which we will break apart into two separate readings because it is a little bit lengthier. And Stevenson's language, I mean, it's not overly complicated, but it takes a little bit of time to read because it's still a bit more formal than what we're used to with reading more contemporary literature. And so if you scroll down, you'll see that we'll then move into the 20th and 21st centuries and start reading authors from that time period. It just helps every once in a while to touch base and kind of, look back, but also look to the future and how things are setting up. So we are just moving through the different time periods while keeping in mind, how the literature in the UK is developing, right? What have we seen in terms of changes, but also what are some similarities, right? And I really want you this week, as you start reading Robert Louis Stevenson, to think about some of the things that you're seeing that connect to Arthur Conan Doyle's text, because there are things that overlap, right? And it's very interesting. So we'll get into more of that next week, and maybe the week after when we kind of do a wrap-up discussion, but there's a lot that we can connect there. And it's exciting because these are authors that aren't necessarily speaking to each other in their writing, but there's a lot that you can connect. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. All right, so that's our schedule and kind of where we are going. If we go back to the table of contents, then we'll go to the week 7 module. And you'll know I have this image because it relates to our reading, not to how I'm feeling or anything that any of you have done. It's just, I thought, that's my sense of humor, so take it or leave it. You're reading the biography of Stevenson as well as the beginning of his text, and that's up into the section titled The Last Night. And this week looks like any other. It's a pretty, straightforward week. We have a pack-back discussion. The initial question is due on Thursday, and then you'll respond to 2 of your colleagues by Sunday. I hope you've been enjoying Packback because I know I have. I really love that some of y'all will include images or links or things like that because it just adds a whole other layer to what you're identifying as a useful question description there. But I hope you also think or see and use the beneficial features, which would be, the spelling check and the grammar and all of this stuff. So I hope you've liked it as much as I have. So if you scroll down, you're watching what will appear here, and you don't necessarily have anything to review. Of course, I would always stress that you go back and look at the schedule, the syllabus, all of that good stuff. I do want to pull up Packback briefly to note that so when we go into Packback, what we want to do is look at the assignment, discussion guidelines, which they really don't vary. They just vary based on the things that we're reading that week. So don't be too concerned about that because we are definitely moving in the right direction and we're getting a feel for what the requirements are, especially because you're leading the conversation, which I have definitely enjoyed the topics that y'all want to dig into. When you click Ask a New Question, just make sure again that you're using all the features for Packback. So I'm going to put where the question goes. So it's prompting me here because it does need to be a question, right? That's the format we're looking to ask one another questions. So I'm just gonna add one here so that you don't see the question mark. And so here, well, So I wanted to do that to have a few errors for you to see, but also to see what's going on the right-hand side of the screen. As you type, you're going to see a curiosity score range, and that's really one of the determining factors for your grade. You know, you want to show curiosity, but in order to do so, you also need to explain the question, right, that you have developed based on whatever it is that we're reading that week. So the higher your curiosity score, the higher your grade. And you'll see that there are different categories here, like what about the credibility and the communication and convention? Are you sticking to academic writing conventions, that kind of thing? But I also want you to know that it's alerting me to two things that I need to address, right? And you'll see the red squigglies here, but if you click on show feedback, this is where it will remind you, okay, and give you spaces to review. So a grammatical error is found. Do you want to change it? You can change it, you can dismiss it. It gives you all of these things. So again, make sure that you're using all the features that are available to help you get the best possible grade for the PACAC discussion. All right, if we go back to week 7, you also have a quiz, and of course the quiz is mostly based on the reading for this week in this video. The random word is picture, but it's also going to maybe ask you to remember a few things about last week and Arthur Conan Doyle's reading. So because again, the connections are there, so it's helpful to review some of that. But as always, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, but also Q&A discussion post area, definitely post there. I also want to note that there is a discussion. So if you go to collaboration at the top, there is the student only chat, which is something I don't access, right? So this is a space where if you have any concerns or things you want to talk, even if it doesn't have anything to do with this class, if you have another class and wonder if anybody else is in it or if anybody else has taken it, do you have questions or concerns, share that there, it's fine. Or, you know, you can post things to develop a group chat for the class or anything like that. Just, it's another space to help you create a sense of community, right? Because a lot of times we can feel very disconnected, but PACBAC and those discussions, as well as this little discussion board area, can hopefully help us feel a bit more connected. All right, have a great week. I think you'll enjoy the reading. I hope you enjoyed the Adventures of the Speckled Band. Those were chosen very specifically together. So have a great week, and I will see you next week.